Hey guys, Break here. Today I thought I'd go through some of the new class changes and the new Covenant abilities which are coming in the new expansion Shadowlands, and give you my thoughts on some of the new things that are coming and how it might impact gold making. First of all, if you haven't seen all the cool new class changes, then make sure you go check out sort of MMO Champion or Wowhead or something and see what's happening to your class, because there are quite a few really cool things happening. One thing I do have to say is that a lot of the things are just things that Blizzard have brought back that used to be in the game, and they've kind of brought them back. So, I mean, let's not give them too much credit, because it's not like they're adding anything new. Most of the time it's just stuff that was in the game and then they took away randomly and now they're giving it back to us. So it is cool and I am very happy and positive about it, but at the same time some people I think are going overboard in praising Blizzard when literally they took it away from us in the first place and they're just giving it to us back now. So anyway, that is just a small thing, but in general I am very happy and I am very glad they're bringing some things back. And if we look at what Blizzard have said, they're like, in Shadowlands we want to return to the idea that a specialization is about powering up a specific part of a class's kit, not narrowing down their toolset. In an expansion that's all about choice, we also want to give players more opportunities to make impactful choices to customize their gameplay and express their own vision of how the character engages in combat. What seems to be happening is Blizzard now want classes and each spec within the class to be more similar. Before, especially the last expansions, they've really tried to make specs really unique and specific, but what happened then was that some specs just lost abilities that the class should have had, and with PvP talents as well, like Druids lost things like Cyclone and Ursol's Vortex and all of that, unless you were a specific spec and had specific talents and all of that. And that was kind of unfair, and that was annoying because Blizzard just took away the things that made the class. And thankfully we are going back to more sort of class-specific things rather than spec-specific things. And it means some specs are getting back spells that they lost a couple of expansions ago. I'm not really going to cover all the class changes in much detail, I'll just go over some of the more interesting ones, and then we'll talk about the Covenant stuff because I think that's more interesting. So for Death Knights, a lot of people are excited that Frost Death Knights can now use one-handed or two-handed weapons. For Druids, they're completely revamping the balance spec to make it more like Eclipses and all of that, back what it used to be. They're also changing a few other things, particularly Starfall, which is really interesting, particularly for gold making. They're putting Starfall back to its original design. Or not its original, but the design it was a couple of expansions ago, where basically you press the button and all of the starfalls just fall around. You don't have to target a specific area. Now this is kind of important because balanced druids, or any druid really, used to be really overpowered, particularly balanced druids for AoE farming, because you could literally just press starfall and run around and everything would just die and you can just run around looting stuff. So for low level farms they were really, really overpowered. And that's coming back, so that's great. So if you are into your farming, particularly low-level dungeons, raids, and even sort of high-level farming as well, this is going to be really useful. But particularly for low-level farming, Starfall coming back to its original design is really, really good for that. And yeah, it's going to make balanced druids very overpowered as a farming class, so I'm happy with that because I play a balanced druid. For mages, they are revamping Altered Time. Monks are going to get their Summon Celestial as baseline rather than as talents. Windwalker can also use one or two-handed weapons. Paladins are getting their Holy Power back for all the specs, and they're also getting auras back, which is really cool. They're also moving Shamans back to their original design rather than having the Maelstrom as a resource. They just make it all about cooldowns and stuff, which was really cool before. It was quite fun, actually. I play Elemental Shaman quite a lot, so I'm actually pleased with that. Anyway, the more interesting things, rather than the class changes, are the Covenant abilities. So as you know, probably in Shadowlands, you'll be able to choose from one of, I think, 4 Covenants. At the start, at least, they might add some more. And each one of these Covenants, it's kind of like your sort of garrison or your class hall, that kind of thing, is where you sort of hang out and you can do different stuff, and you also get different abilities depending on which covenant you choose. And again, I think these are going to have quite a big difference when it comes to sort of farming classes and gold making. Anyway, let's quickly go over some of the Covenant abilities. So Kyrian, you can summon a steward that brings you this sort of vial thing that is going to get your health back, and apparently offers some other things. We don't know what they are. There is Venthyr, which allows you to sort of shadow step to somewhere, kind of like a mage blink or a shadow step, or I don't really know what it's like, some sort of teleport. Then there is Necrolord, which allows you to get a shield. Just sounds like it absorbs a certain amount of damage, and if you stand near enemies, the shield is much larger. Again, surely all the tanks are just going to pick that Covenant. Don't know how they're going to balance that, but anyway. And then there is Night Fae, which allows you to turn into this Vulpin, which increases your movement speed, and you can also use it to teleport short distance forward. So these are the signature Covenant abilities that every class will get depending on which Covenant you join. And yeah, lots of people have been complaining that they're not very balanced. And again, we're going to have to wait till Alpha comes out to properly see. But yeah, it does seem a bit interesting. I mean, for gold making, there's obviously a couple of big ones. I'd imagine the Door of Shadows, the signature ability for Venthyr, which allows you to teleport somewhere forwards. I don't know how good that's going to be, but any sort of movement or teleport is going to be more beneficial for gold farming, so that could be something to think about. And then the other one obviously is Night Fae, because that has a movement speed increase, which again is always good for people who want to farm old dungeons or anything like that. So I think Night Fae and Venthyr are going to be the best for gold making if you really want to min-max your farming. But then again, all of them do have some sort of benefits. I mean, the Fleshcraft for the Necrolords could allow you, I don't know how good it's going to be, but say it's a really good shield, it could allow you to farm some New World stuff maybe. And again, the Kyrian Steward, I mean, what are these amenities and what do they offer you? Say they allow you to buy some like rare things or something, then that could be good for gold making, who knows. But right now it seems definitely farming could be Night Fae as the main one, and then Venthyr depending on how good the Shadow Step Blink thing is. But then the really interesting thing is that Covenants also give you class abilities depending on your class. And some of these are really crazy, and again, don't know how they're going to balance these. And I'm not really going to go over these, but again, there's some really cool ones. For example, Druids get a form bond with an ally. On a cooldown, you can empower the bond, granting you an effect based on your partner's role. So Druids used to have a spell like this. I can't remember what it was called, but it's basically you used it on someone in your party, and you got one of their spells and they got one of your spells. And you could use it in PvP, like you could have Ice Block as a Resto Druid and stuff like that. If you used it on a mage, it was really overpowered. Anyway, they seem to be bringing that back, which is very cool. Anyway, those are the changes for the Covenants and the classes, and yeah, they seem exciting. I am pretty interested to see how it goes with these. Obviously, people are worried about the balance, and that is going to be an issue. Don't know how they're going to do it. Personally, maybe they should concentrate on making it more sort of cosmetic rather than giving them these really overpowered abilities. But at the same time, that would mean it doesn't matter as much, and this is going to make them matter. So it's quite hard to, it's an interesting debate really. I don't really know what's best, but hopefully it can be at least reasonably balanced. And again, in terms of gold making, it's hard to tell right now. But what we do know is that there are a couple of the Covenant abilities which give movement speed increases or teleports, which again, if you like to do farming and stuff, that could be very powerful. And yeah, some of the Druid changes just make Druid really, really good at farming, balanced Druid in particular, with Starfall going back to its original thing. And Stampeding Roar they're bringing back, so that's another movement increase for Druids, just in case we didn't have enough already. Anyway, I'm excited to see what Shadowlands brings. I know the alpha is supposed to be coming out this week. We probably won't get in it, but who knows, maybe for once I will. I hardly even get in betas, to be honest, or if I do, I get in really late. Blizzard don't seem to like me much, but hopefully we can get in, start testing some stuff and doing some cool stuff, and I'll be back with some more gold guides very soon. Thanks for watching, and until next time, see ya.